Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about Super-Skill Pinball. Rip it up! Oh! This is designed by Jeff Inglestein and is published by WizKids.
There's basically this whole series of games called Super-Skill Pinball. They're all these pinball machines. And you have these flippers, you flip them just like a regular pinball machine. But if any pinball machine aficionado knows that each machine is a little different, has its own quirks, its own little nuances to it, and that's exactly what's going on here as well. This one includes 4 different tables, 4 maps, as I like to call them, just because that's the way my brain works. 4 different tables, 4 different games that you can play all inside this box. They all work a little bit differently. Let me give you a quick overview of how one of them works and kind of give you an idea of how they all kind of work, and then we'll come back to the review. Alright, here's our setup for Super-Skill Pinball. So we kind of envision this like a pinball machine. This kind of backboard will be up like this, and this is going to be faced up like this. But for the sake of making it a board game, it's all laid out flat. So what we've got is we've got a start space over here, and we've got 1 ball. Every player is going to have the exact same board in front of them, and they're going to be able to use it in their own way. But we're all going to be using the same 2 dice. So we're going to roll those, and based off whatever we see, we're going to be able to do some actions. So we're right here at the start mark, so we're going to move our ball there. We rolled either a 2 or a 4, so we can fill in one of the spots on the board there that has either a 2 or a 4. Each one of these sections that we move our ball to is called a feature, and each feature acts a little bit differently. This time we're trying to fill out every single one of those little kind of domino-shaped tiles. Once we've filled that out, we're going to be able to fill in a skill shot. That's basically a way that we can kind of change a die to a result of our choosing. So for now, let's go with that 2 that we rolled there and fill that in. Now this all uses gravity. You can kind of see a little thin white line there between different parts of the board. The next feature that we go to has to be lower than the one that we're on. So we're going to roll a dice again. This time we have a 5 and a 6. So we can go over here to these bumpers. These bumpers are one of the few ways that we can keep on staying in the same area, because we're just kind of bouncing around amongst those bumpers. Alternatively, we could go to this feature over here. This has some other little numbers that we can fill in and try to get some extra points that way. But I like the bumper idea. Let's go over here. Let's fill in that 5 this time. Alright, so now we can roll the dice again. We rolled a 3 and a 4. If we had rolled a 1 or a 2 on this bumper here, we could have kept on going around that circle. But we have to go in that order. Since we didn't, we have to roll a 3 or a 4. We're going to keep on moving down. So this time we can either go over to this section or this section. Let's keep it on the side of the board for now. Let's move this one. Let's color in that 3 and 4. And all along, you're going to be gaining these stars as well. Every time you move around the bumper, every time you knock one of these down, you're going to get a point. And you're going to mark all your points down on this track over here. Once you get to the bottom of the board, this is where the flippers are. So we're going to roll our dice one more time. Let's see, we rolled a 3 or a 6. We need to fill in either a 3 or a 6. Let's go with the 3 this time. We could have been going to either one of the bumpers, but I just kind of want to keep it on that same side of the board. Now we've made it onto this yellow flapper. What we can do is we can go to up again, but we can go to anything that has a yellow arrow. So we can see over here that says a yellow arrow. We can even go all the way up to this top backboard, which has a yellow arrow as well. Each one of the games that you play has its own kind of features and different ways that it manipulates the board. So I'm not going to teach how this entire game works, but basically all of them are going to work basically the same way. You're going to start at the start spot. You're going to use gravity because this thing is tilting down. Go to the flappers. And the flappers are going to put you up at the top again, and you're going to just kind of circle your way down again. You're just going to keep on doing that over and over again, filling in as many of those different spots as possible. A lot of the features have to do with filling in all the different areas. So for instance, like we talked about, if we fill in this whole pan area, a 1 and a 2, a 3 and a 4, and then a 5, if we were able to do that, first of all, we'd be able to erase them all so we can start filling them in again, but then also we'd be able to enact one of these abilities. We'd be able to basically take the dice and do some things with them. So it says A times B. So if in this case we rolled a 6 times a 3, we would get 18 points, which is fantastic. Some things like this gold and this nugget area over here, that would give you some special abilities. Sometimes you can even add in a second ball. Once you have multiple balls bouncing around inside of the game, you're going to get a lot more points. Your points are going to rack up twice as fast. And you're going to get double points while the balls are going on in there. However, the board kind of fills up twice as fast as well. It makes it more likely that things are going to have to fall down eventually out of the bottom of the flappers there. A lot of features like this flume loop up here have to do with kind of a push your luck mechanism. So basically you're going to keep on getting this blue flapper up here, and you're going to go round and round in that circle, filling in as many of those different numbers as possible. And the more you're able to fill in, the more points you're going to get. But eventually you're going to get kicked out, and it's going to dump out over here into the falls, and go back down the normal channel. There's one thing you can do on all different boards, which is called nudging the board, which is something that you can actually do in a real pinball machine. You can kind of bump it a little bit to make sure that the ball goes where you want it to go. In this case, what's going to happen is, let's say you rolled a 3, but you really wanted to roll a 5. What you can do is you can fill in one of these nudge spots over here, as well as the difference between what you wanted to have and what you actually got, and put that in the box above here. So in this case, let's put 2. And that's the difference between our 5 that we wanted and the 3 that we actually rolled. On the very next roll, what we're going to do is we are going to see if the difference between these 2 dice is less than the amount that we put on our nudge. In this case, we rolled a 5 and a 3, ironically, which happens to also be 2. It was not less than our number here, which is also 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to erase this. No penalty. However, we do have to keep that filled in the entire time. You only have to nudge 3 times throughout the game. That's pretty cool and gives you some flexibility. However, if you ever were above that number, that's called tilting. If you ever tilt, the round ends immediately for you. You lose all the ball tokens you have in play. At the end of each round, what we're going to do is we're going to erase all the things we have on the board here, and we're going to go get, once again, start at the start, and we're going to keep on going until we lose all our balls. We're going to do that 3 times, and at the end of the third and final round, we're going to count up all of our points, and whoever has the most points wins the game. Remember, each map has its own little nuances and twists to it, so be sure to reference those parts of the rulebook whenever you try out a new board.
I thought they did a great job with the graphics in this game. So when you have a pinball machine game, it's loud and it's obnoxious and there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of colors happening.
It's like a casino all in one box.
It is. It's like a casino in this little machine, right? It's bing, 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 ding, ding, ding. All those, yeah, you get all the same like noises too. Okay, so you want all of that, but you still want the players to be able to read what's going on in the board, and you don't want them to be confused with that. And I felt like the graphic design on this was excellent at that. I wasn't confused with the artwork. The artwork didn't like distract me from what I needed to know, but it still just made it alive and it made it loud without being distracting. So I thought they did a great job with that.
This game has a little bit of a build up to it. You might even call it a ramp up to it. Get it?
Knee slapper. You can't see, but I'm slapping my knee.
Basically, you have all these different objectives, you know, and you hit them once and you get to knock over, you know, one little section of the board, and you hit it again, you get to knock over another section of the board, but then, you know, you might have to hit like 1 through 6, you know, at different times, and once you've gotten all of the things knocked down, you can trigger some cool ability or some extra points or whatever the case is, getting to that point is a little frustrating. It's a little bit of a grind, right? You have to knock down every little thing. Maybe you need to knock down 1 through 6. You knocked down 1 through 5 already. You're just waiting for that 6 to roll so you can get that thing taken care of. But you get to the 2. And next turn you get a 3. Then you get a 2 again.
Yeah.
And then you get a 3 again. Mm-hmm. And then you get a 1. And then you get a 5.
Yeah.
You finally get a 6, but by then the ball is in a different part of the board.
Oh.
But the point is, once you finally do get that thing completely, that feature completely filled up, and you trigger that bonus ability, it is so satisfying when you're able to actually make that happen. So many points, so many special abilities, that's a really satisfying feeling.
And there is a lot of game in this box. There's the 4 tables or boards, and there's just a lot of it. So there's a lot of things going on, how you have to play that first, and then you have to go to the second level, and all of the boards have that. So I just feel like you get a lot in this package.
I agree. I mean, 4 separate games. They all have the same kind of base idea, right?
Yeah.
With the same gravity kind of working the ball down. You have the flippers that kind of operate similarly. You usually have some kind of a bumper or something like that going on. So they all feel similar, but they all at the same time feel different. For me personally, if you were a fan of the original Super-Skill Pinball, this gives you more. This gives you more excitement, more things to look at, more things going on. If you're coming into this cold, if you're just playing this for the first time, this is a game that was a little overwhelming. It was a little kind of, and it was a little dry too. You were kind of grinding a little bit. Yeah. And you were just waiting, and you were waiting, and you were waiting for something to pay off. And sometimes it would pay off, sometimes it didn't, like I talked about earlier. So as a standalone, if you're playing this by itself, you are going to be, I think, a little underwhelmed. If you're playing this as a roll and write, and you're used to other roll and writes where you get to basically roll some stuff, write some stuff down, and do it again. Roll some stuff, write some stuff down, and do it again, and then the game is over like that. You had a really fun experience. This is not that. This is a much longer, kind of drawn-out thing. I mean, there was times where I was like, man, I wish this round would just kind of end. I've done everything I want to do. I'm ahead in points, or maybe I'm not. I don't know. I just kind of want the game to end. There was one of the boards that we played, one of the tables. It only had 2 rounds instead of 3, and I was like, yes! One less round. Because it is just a much longer, more tedious experience than other roll and write games if you're treating this as a roll and write game.
I have very similar sentiments. When we were playing this, it was weird because I was fully engaged and I was getting those highs that you get in this game when things roll and they just happen the exact way that you want it to. And it's super exciting, especially when we get those 20 or even like 40 points all in one turn, and it just feels awesome. But then like you're still rolling the dice and the game still isn't over. So I both like was fully engaged, but also wanting it to end at the same time. It was a really weird feeling. Like I didn't know how to, I don't know. I didn't know how to settle those two feelings that I felt the whole time. I kind of feel like that if you are a solo gamer and you want like a mid-weight solo game, this might be something you want to check out, because it's not super short like Ryan said, but it's also not a game where you have to set it up and it's going to be on your table for 8 days. This might fit that medium ground. So if you are a solo gamer, then I would check it out for that reason.
Yeah, so I cannot personally recommend this, but if you are someone who liked anything we said about the kind of that pinball experience, there's a lot of different options out there. There's a lot of different maps or tables. There's several different boxes, and they all have 4 different tables in them. Find the one that you think suits you the best. There's a Christmas one that looks really cool. It had Buddy the Elf on it. There's obviously the original box, which got a ton of great buzz when it first hit the shelves. So if that pinball arcade idea sounded cool to you, find the one that suits you best and check it out. They all work pretty similarly. This particular one is a little bit more advanced on the rule side, and as a result, I didn't like it.
Anyway, don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out, and you can also find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.